Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? What is the system that Krishna said he has created?
That all paths lead to me. About that we were discussing last time.
Okay, no, but which system? He has created a system, Varnashram system, he said, right? Varnashram system is a combination of 4 Varnas and the 4 Ashramas. So what are the 4 Varnas?
Kshatriya, Shudra,
Vaishya, Brahmana.
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra.
Shudra.
What are the 4 Ashramas?
Grasta, Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya. First is what? First stage of life is?
Oh,
Brahmacharya,
Brahmacharya, then comes?
Vanaprasthashram,
No, after Brahmacharya comes?
Grihastashram,
Grihastha. After Grihastha comes?
Vanaprasthashram.
Vanaprastha. After Vanaprastha we have?
sannyas.
So this is the original caste system, not the modern day caste system. That the modern day caste system is only a perverted version. But the original caste system of society is this Varnashram system, which Krishna says that he himself has created. Now, based on what he has created these divisions in the society? Based on what? Two factors. Guna and
Niti.
Guna and karma. He says that he has created these divisions based on guna and karma. Guna means quality of one's, the nature, one's nature, and karma is the kind of work one does, the quality of work one does. So we know that Brahmanas have a certain nature, so do the Kshatriyas, so do the Vaishyas, so do the Shudras. So, and Brahmanas have a certain duty, Kshatriyas have certain duties, Vaishyas and Shudras, they all have certain prescribed duties to perform. So based on one's nature and based on the work one does, these divisions have been created by Krishna. Nowhere does Krishna mention that he has created these divisions based on janma or based on birth. So this is very important point that we discussed in detail in the previous class, how just because one is born in a Brahmin family doesn't mean that he's a Brahmin, right? One is considered to be a Brahmin if he has the nature of a Brahmin and if he does the work of a Brahmin. Same thing Shudra. If somebody is born in a Shudra family, but he does the work of a Brahmin and he does the work of, and he has a nature of a Brahmin, then he is given all due respect, just as how a Brahmana is respected. Now, that doesn't mean that if one is a Shudra, one is insulted or one is disrespected. It's not like that. We discussed how all four are important for the smooth working of the society. Of course, Brahmanas are the most respected because they are considered to be the heads of the society. If we lose the head, then we cannot continue to live anymore, isn't it? So the head is the most important part of the body. But still, if we lose our legs, the Shudras are compared to the legs of the society. If we lose our legs, then we become crippled and we are handicapped. And there are so many things that we may not be able to do. So therefore, if we do not have the contribution of the Shudras or the Vaishyas or the Kshatriyas or the Brahmanas, then the society becomes crippled. So when everybody does their duties and does their work according to their Varna that they belong to, according to the Varnashram system, then there is a smooth working of the society. Otherwise, there is going to be chaos. And that's what is happening now. Now this Varnashram system has broken down. Now we have a perverted version of this Varnashram system. So therefore, there is chaos. So Krishna says that he has created this Varnashram based on guna and karma, not on janma. Okay, then we discussed the three kinds of karma. What are the three kinds of karma we saw?
Sattvic karma and
Good karma.
no.
Vikarma, akarma,
Yes, vikarma, akarma,
and karma.
and karma. Yes, very nice, Varsha. So what is vikarma?
The sins, the bad
The
ones.
sinful activities which are against the shastric injunctions is vikarma, sinful activities. Then what is akarma?
Dharma, the ones that are really for the religious purposes.
Okay, and what is the difference between karma and akarma?
Karma is with the result of fruit is fruitive.
Yes, exactly. Fruitive activities, right? It is within the framework of Shastra, but it is for expecting something in return. So it is done in expectation of fruitive activities, as Lavina said. So that is karma. And what is akarma?
Devotional activities.
Devotional activities. It is done out of devotion. It is done out of love for the Lord. It is not done because I expect something in return. Pure love means to serve without expecting anything in return. So that is a karma. Okay, so which of the three is the best?
Akarma.
Karma.
Akarma is the best. Both akarma and karma are within the injunctions of the Shastra. So it's not sinful. But akarma is the best because it is done without expecting anything in return.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
Mataji, Mataji, one question.
that
One
is-
question. When you say akarma, the English word for akarma is inaction. This is what you were showing in the last class, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, but is it inaction or devotional activities?
Both are the same. Inaction and devotional activity is the same. See, inaction means that action which is not considered to be an action. See, the point is, when we do any activity, when we do action, there is reaction. Okay, so action brings reaction. And as long as there is reaction, we are in this material world. So akarma means inaction. So there is action, but because it is devotional, we are doing it for the service of the Lord. So it is not considered to be an action. It is considered to be a devotional service because then it will not bring any reaction.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Or are we ready for today's class?
Ready.
Okay, let me share the screen. Who can read today?
Can I read?
Yes, Devina. Thank you. Okay. So the previous discussion, we saw that which is within the framework of Shastra is karma and akarma, and that is that which is outside the framework of Shastra is vikarma. Now the next point is, one question one may ask is, how do we know what is Shastric injunctions and what is not Shastric injunction? What is considered to be sinful and what is not considered to be sinful? Whom are we going to accept as authority? And who can lay down the principles of dharma? Somebody may say, no, it's okay. Dharma means this. Religious principles means this. This is sinful, this is not sinful. So whom are we going to accept as authority? Because the doctor may say it's okay to drink in moderation. So are we going to accept the doctor as authority? The government of the land may not fine me or may not imprison me, may not punish me for drinking in moderation. Or if I'm over drunk but I'm at home, then it's not considered to be breaking the rules of the land, right? Only I'm not allowed to drink and drive, but I can drink as much as I want and stay at home or stay in my friend's house or whatever. As long as I'm not breaking the rules and regulations and I'm drunk, it's fine. The government is not going to fine me for that. So are we going to accept the doctor or the government?
I think it's Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu.
Yes. And even a parent may tell us that, no, you need to eat meat because you need protein. So it's okay to eat meat. You're still young. Or you can give up meat when you're old. You can do bhakti when you're old. But now you're young, you're a growing child. You need the protein, you eat now, right? So are we going to accept such a parent as authority? A
No.
lawyer may also give you advice on how one can get away with a crime. The government may say, if you're 18 plus, you can gamble. Or your friends or other elders or relatives also may give you some advice on what is religious principle and what is irreligious principle. So are we going to accept them as authority? See, the Srimad Bhagavatam explains. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So only the Lord can tell you what is real religious principle. Only the Lord can lay down the religious principles. Only the Lord can tell you what is dharma and what is adharma. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis, See here, look at the shloka. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Only the Lord can tell you what is dharma. Navai vidur rishayo. Not even the great sages can tell you. Napi deva. Not even the devatas can lay down the religious principles. Na siddha mukhya. Not even the siddhas in the or the residents of the siddha loka. Siddhas are the greatly accomplished yogis. So even the siddhas cannot lay down the religious principles. Not even the asuras, not even the demons. Manushya, not even the human beings. Kuto nu vidyadhara, even the vidyadhars and not even the charanas. The charanas and the vidyadharas are the musicians of the higher planetary systems. Okay, so the vidyadharas, the charanas, the ordinary human beings, the asuras, the siddha lokas, the devatas and the great rishis also cannot lay down the religious principles. The law book is written only by the Lord himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranita. So somebody may come up with so many excuses. Oh, it's okay, you're young, you can eat meat, you can give up meat when you're older, this bhakti can be done when you're older. No, the religious principles, irrespective of what your age is, you will still take the karma for engaging in any kind of sinful activities. Till the age of 5, whatever a child does, the mother takes the karma. And after the child, once the child crosses 5 years, then the child himself takes the karma for whatever the child is doing. So we take instructions only from 3 lines of authority: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. The spiritual master, other self-realized souls, and also the scriptures. So what the Lord lays down as the rules and regulations, we get them from the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, other self-realized souls, and of course the Shastra. Now what the Guru says, what the Sadhu says is exactly that which is written in the Shastra. So one can read the Shastra directly and know what are the rules and regulations. Why do we need a Guru? Why do we need a Sadhu? Why? Because the Guru and Sadhu will help us understand the Shastra in the right spirit. There are many things in the Shastra that may be confusing for us, especially in Kali Yuga, because we are the least intelligent, right? We are least intelligent. We don't understand properly. We may be misguided. We may misunderstand. There are so many things in the Shastra that appear to be contradictory, but they are not contradictory. And to understand such finer details, we need Guru and Sadhu. So these are the 3 lines of authority. They are 3 parallel lines. 3 parallel lines. All 3 of them are saying the exact same thing. So just as how a train can run smoothly on 2 parallel tracks, right? If one track is broken or one track is not the same as the other track, then the train cannot move smoothly. In the same way, in our spiritual life, when we are following these 3 parallel lines, the 3 lines of authority, then our spiritual life, we can progress very nicely. So learning from parampara is as good as learning from God himself. This is the reason why we must surrender to a spiritual master. When we learn from the Guru is repeating what he heard from his Guru, and like that it goes all the way to Krishna. Here we have a photo of Sri Sri Gaura Nitai, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, who appeared 500 years back. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself, and Lord Nityananda is none other than Balaram. So like that, because each one is only repeating the previous authority, therefore learning from parampara is as good as learning from God himself. We may not be so fortunate like Arjuna, where Krishna himself personally is pulling our chariot and he's giving us the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because we are not qualified like Arjuna, not because God is partial to Arjuna, but because we don't have that qualification. But still we have this mercy of the Lord that he is giving us this message through the Guru Parampara. Now, of course, there are many gurus who do not repeat what the Shastra says. If the guru tells you anything that is not in the Shastra, then you know that he is bogus. So somebody may say, give me $1,000 and you can enjoy wine and women. There are many so-called gurus who allow you to engage in sinful activities. But then there you know that the guru is bogus, because the guru is supposed to repeat exactly what the Shastra says. If somebody says that I am God, then you know that the guru is also bogus. If he says that I know better than God, also he is bogus, because who can know better than God? If somebody knows better than God, then he should be God. God is not, God is that personality who is complete, absolute, full, purna. There can be nobody better than God in any possible way. So God is one who knows the best. So nobody can know better than the Lord. If one says, I have neither read the Gita, nor the Vedas, nor the Upanishads, I'm sorry, that how did he become a self-realized soul? So Shastra is the perfect reference point to know who is bogus and who is not bogus. Shastra is the perfect reference point. So therefore, before we choose a guru, before we surrender to a guru, before we surrender to anyone, we need to cross-check through this check and balance system of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Okay, let's hear today's verse.
Karmanya karmayah pashyed akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktah kritsna karmakrit.
One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
See, here Krishna is explaining who is intelligent. What is real intelligence? One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. What is this? This is like a tongue twister. It's also a brain twister, isn't it? Seeing action in inaction and seeing inaction in action. So let's try to understand. What is inaction is, we discussed is akarma, and action is karma, right? So one who sees inaction in action, which means one who sees akarma in karma, or one who sees devotional activities in ordinary activities. So for example, a devotee may appear to be eating, sleeping, mating, defending, just like any other ordinary person. But actually it is devotional activity in ordinary activities. Externally, it may look like an ordinary activity, but it's actually a devotional activity. Why? Because a devotee is eating prasad. A devotee is sleeping so that he can use the body in the service of the Lord. He is mating so that he can have Krishna conscious children, and he takes the responsibility of delivering the children. He takes the responsibility that the children follow their spiritual life and they can go back home, back to Godhead in the lifetime. So defending, he comes to defend Guru, he comes to defend the Lord, he comes to defend the other Vaishnavas, like that. So externally it may look like an ordinary activity, but one who sees devotional activity in ordinary activity, that person is intelligent. That person is in a transcendental position. Then Krishna says one who sees action in inaction, one who sees karma in akarma. For example, somebody may appear to be completely renounced. He may be in the forest and he's completely renounced. He's given up family, he's given up home, he's given up his property, and he's in the forest and he's engaged in meditation. But if his mind is still engaged in thinking, oh, what must be going on in my house? How must my family be living? What probably is my wife doing right now? Did my children finish their education or no? So if his mind is still, in his mind, he's still materially attached, or he's thinking about the comforts that he had in his house. Oh, I used to sleep on this wonderful bed and now I have to sleep on this hard floor. So he may be externally renounced. Externally, he's probably in the forest and he's given up everything, but still his mind is engaged in still his mind is materially attached. Then that person is engaging in karma in akarma, seeing the ordinary activities in devotional activities. So such a person, Krishna says, is intelligent. Such a person is in transcendental position. A Mayavad philosopher wants to stop all activities, but still his activities are karmic. A Mayavad philosopher focuses on renunciation, but a Vaishnava philosopher, a Vaishnava sannyasi, focuses on engaging whatever he has in the service of the Lord. The focus is not so much on renouncing the possessions. The focus is more on renouncing your materialistic mentality. The mentality has to be renounced. So a Vaishnava can accept even millions of dollars, he will accept that kind of donation also, but he will use that donation in the service of the Lord. So one has to be renounced in your mentality, not necessarily in the possessions. One can receive possessions, one can live in your home, one can live with the family, one can ride in a luxurious car, one can accept expensive gifts, but everything is used in the service of the Lord. So a Bhakta devotee puts Krishna in the center of all activities, hence he is free from karma. So who is intelligent? One who sees inaction in action, and one who sees action in inaction. Krishna says is intelligent. See, as we discussed, activity means you are doing some activity, right? Something you are doing. So whatever you do, either you're doing good or you're doing bad. Now, if you do bad, it is sinful. It will take you to hellish planets. If you do good, it is punya. It will take you to the heavenly planets. But the problem is, as long as there is activity, there is going to be a reaction. As long as there is action, there is going to be a reaction. And it means then we are going to continuously remain in the cycle of birth and death. So this is the problem. As long as there is action, there will be a reaction. So reaction means rebirth. To either you enjoy the benefit or you suffer the punishment. So what is the solution? What to do? That means no action. If there is no action, there is going to be no reaction. But is it possible for one to do nothing at all? Can you do nothing? I mean, even if you're sitting in a place and not doing anything, still by your very breathing, you're killing some living entities. So it's not possible for one to refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. It is a nature of the soul to be engaged in some activity or the other. So then what to do? What is the solution? Therefore, the solution is engage in those actions that do not bring any reaction. And what kind of actions do not bring any reactions? That is a karma. That is devotional service. Let's go to 19.
Yasya sarve samarambhaha kamasankalpavarjitaha jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamahuh panditam buddhaha.
One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
So say here Krishna is equating the development of transcendental knowledge to fire. Krishna is saying that he is said by, okay, let's go from the beginning. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. I desire nothing for myself. Anya abhilashita shonyam. I only desire that the Lord should be pleased. So that person is in full knowledge, Krishna said. And Krishna says, and such a person, Krishna says, is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So development of perfect knowledge, Krishna is comparing to fire. Just as how a fire can burn to ashes, anything that comes in contact with fire, in the same way, all the reactions of work can be burned to ashes by engaging in akarma, by engaging in inaction, Krishna is saying.
Tyaktva karma phala sangam nityatrupto nirashrayaha karmanyabhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha.
Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings.
So such a person, Krishna says, he abandons what? Here the focus here of Krishna is nir-ashraya. Say nir-ashraya, the mentality of detachment. One is detached to what? detached to the results of his activity. See, nowhere Krishna says that you have to give up your activity. Nowhere Krishna says that you have to give up your duties. He says give up the attachment to the results of the activities. That is real renunciation. So one should not think that, oh, I'm a devotee, so I can just focus on my devotional life and it's okay if I do not engage in my duties. No, we all have certain duties. So we have to do our duties towards family, towards parents, towards children, towards husband, wife. Whatever are your duties, we have to fulfill our duties. And at the same time, we focus also on our spiritual life. So material duties have to be performed. Nowhere Krishna says that you have to abandon your duties. He is saying abandon the results of your activities. Give the results to Krishna. Don't be attached to the results. Okay. So then he says he performs no fruitive action. He does not perform any action that brings him fruits, although he's engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So he's doing all kinds of work, he's doing all kinds of activities, but because he is not doing the work for his own sense gratification, he's given up the fruits of his action. He's given up the attachment to the results of his action. Therefore, such a person is satisfied and independent. Such a karma, when you work for the satisfaction of the Lord, makes you completely satisfied. It gives you a lot of pleasure. Say, you will see how there were so many people who surrendered to Prabhupada. They were willing to, one word from Srila Prabhupada, and they would be willing to execute his instructions, right? Why? Because they are getting happiness, they're getting satisfied. They were not being paid. The disciples are not given a salary. Those who are doing devotional service in the temple, nobody is paying them to clean the temple, to sweep the temple, to clean the bathrooms, to give a class. Nobody is paying them. But why they are doing it? Because they are getting satisfaction out of it. They're getting satisfaction out of it.
निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all senses of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions.
So Krishna says such a person, he is not attached to what he owes. See, he gives up all sense of proprietorship. So he's not attached to what he owns. He may own a car, he may own a family, he may own a house, but he gives up all sense of proprietorship. He thinks that I am not the owner. He thinks and he understands that the Lord is the supreme proprietor, because Krishna says he's Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the proprietor of all the planetary systems, right? He's the Lord of all the planetary systems. So he understands, and he understands that he is only a servant of the Lord. This understanding a devotee has, and he works with that understanding. Just as how if you have, let's say there is a big machine, and that big machine has several parts, right? So let's say there is a nut, a bolt to the machine. Now, as long as that bolt is attached to that big machine, that bolt has some value. Once the bolt is separated, once the bolt falls off from the machine, then that bolt has no value whatsoever. So in the same way, there is value to us. We have some value as long as we remain connected to the Lord. We are like those nuts and bolts that are connected to this big machine. So there is some value to us as long as we are connected to the Lord. The moment we disconnect ourselves, the moment we turn our face away and we think that we are the supreme proprietors, then we have no value. There is no value. So a devotee thinks that he's that bolt who has some value as long as he is connected to that machine, as long as he is connected to the Lord. So such a person, he acts only for the bare necessities of life. Yes, he eats, he sleeps, but that is so that he can keep the body and soul together, so that he can use the body in the service of the Lord. Because if we do not have the human body is your best machine through which you can transcend the material world and go to the spiritual world. So we need this human body. So therefore we need to act to keep the bare necessities of life. But it's one thing is to work to keep the bare necessities of life, and other thing is to engage in sense gratification. They are two different things.
यदृच्छालाभ संतुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समः सिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते.
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing action.
So although such a person is performing actions, what are we discussing about? Krishna in this section is discussing about those people who are engaging in akarma. Okay. So what is Krishna saying here now? That although such a person who is engaging in akarma, he is performing actions, but still he is never entangled. Why he is never entangled? Because he is free from duality. He is free from success and failure. He is not that he is overly excited when there is success and he is disappointed when there is failure. So he is free from duality and he does not envy. Remember, we are in this material world because we are envious of the position of the Lord. We wanted to enjoy like the Lord. We didn't want to become a servant of the Lord, right? So therefore, such a person, he is free from envy. And he is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. So if the gain comes on its own, then also he is, he is satisfied. See, there is a story of Madhavendra Puri. Now, Madhavendra Puri appears in Chaitanya Leela, and he would not even go and beg for food, because the sannyasis, they're not allowed to work, so they go from place to place, and whatever food they get, they survive on that. Now, Madhavendra Puri would not even go and beg for food stuff door to door. He would just sit down and he would chant, and then Krishna personally delivered the milk to him. So this is what Krishna says here, that he is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. If something comes, then the devotee will accept it. He is satisfied. If nothing comes, also the devotee is satisfied, because then he says, okay, this is what the Lord desires.
Gata sangasya muktasya jnanaavasthita chetasaha yajñāya charatah karma samagram praviliyate.
The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence.
So such a person is beyond the modes of material nature. There are three modes of material nature: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. But a person who's engaged in akarma, he is beyond the three modes of material nature. So yes, mode of goodness is good, but it is still in the material world. What is beyond the mode of goodness? What is beyond even sattva guna?
The transcendental stage.
The transcendental stage, yes, very nice. Or the Shuddha Sattva stage. It's called Shuddha Sattva stage, or the transcendental mode of goodness. So such a person is beyond even the mode of goodness. He's beyond all the three modes, even beyond mode of goodness, and he is situated in the transcendental mode of goodness. So this is what Krishna is saying, that such a person, he's unattached to the modes of material nature. He's fully situated in transcendental knowledge and merges entirely into transcendence. So even though he may appear to be in this material world, still because of his mentality, because he's engaged in akarma, he is considered to be in the transcendental mode of goodness.
Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi Brahmagno brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina.
A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature.
Okay, so with this shloka, shloka number 24, Krishna concludes this section on akarma. And what is Krishna saying here? Such a person is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom. Such a person is sure to reach the spiritual world. Why? Because he is engaged in those activities that do not bring any reaction. So he's talking about yagyas here. He says, See, let's read this. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom. Why? Because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. His activities, although appear to be ordinary activities, but actually they were spiritual because he dovetailed those activities in Krishna consciousness. Now, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So in a yagya, there is something that is offered in the fire, right? And there is some benefit. See, when a yagya is done, the person is there, he is offering something, the priest is there, the priest is doing the offering for somebody else, and something is being offered in the yagya. In the same way, in devotional practices, there is some sacrifice that is done. Something is being offered. This will be explained by Krishna in detail in the upcoming section, which we will see. But here Krishna is just giving us an introduction to what is coming up next. So now in the next section, he's going to talk about the different kinds of yagyas and what are the benefit that people receive by the different kinds of yagyas. Okay. But here what Krishna is saying, that everything connected to a person who's doing karma, everything is spiritual. Everyone benefits. In short, this is what it means. That say if let's say one is doing a program in the house. Now the person who's doing the program, the person who cooked for the program, the person who cleaned for the program, the person who has come to hear or come to attend the program, everybody is benefited. Even the person all the family members of the person who is doing the program, everybody benefits. Everything is transcendently situated. This is what Krishna is saying. In such activities, the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So everything connected to karma, everything is spiritual. Everything is absolute. Everything is complete. Everything is perfect. Okay, so here is a summary of what Krishna has mentioned from verse number 19 to 24, qualities of one working in transcendence. You can go through this when we share the slides in the group. So now we go to the next section, achieving jnana through sacrifices. So karma yoga involves jnana also. By doing various kinds of sacrifices, one can eventually come to jnana. You all can see the screen or no?
Yes, Mataji, we can see.
Because I get the message here that screen sharing is paused. Can you see verse 25?
No.
No.
Now we can see it.
Now you can see 25. Okay.
Hmm.
Let's go to 25.
Daivameva pare yajnam yoginah paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajnam yajnenaivo bhajupati.
Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman.
So here, as we discussed, Krishna is going to talk about the different kinds of sacrifices, different kinds of yagyas. Yagya does not necessarily only mean fire yagya. There are different kinds of yagyas. There are different kinds of sacrifices. Here he's talking about two. What are they? One is demigod worship, and two is merging into the Brahman effulgence. So Krishna is saying some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. So we have discussed previously how the initial section of the Vedas talks about karma kanda, how to do different practices to please the different devatas. So they are called Bahu Ishvara Vadis. Those who worship all the different gods, they are called as Bahu Ishvara Vadis. But their worship is not out of love for the Lord. Their worship is because they want something in return. So we know, on Mondays they will worship a certain devata, or Tuesdays they'll worship certain devata, Wednesdays certain devata. Mondays who is normally worshipped?
Shiv.
Lord Shiva. Tuesdays,
Hanuman.
Hanuman.
Wednesdays,
I think so. Hanuman.
No.
Surya Devta.
Lord Ganesh.
Lord Ganesh.
No, it's
Thursdays,
Surya Devta.
Fridays? I don't know. I'm just asking y'all. I don't know the answers. So Fridays,
Thursday. Sai Baba. Thursday Sai Baba.
Thursday, Sai Baba. Fridays,
Friday Santoshima.
Santoshima.
Mata.
Santoshima.
Santoshima.
And
Saturdays,
Vaibhav Lakshmi.
Shani
Vaibhav
Devta.
Lakshmi.
Shani Devta
Saturday?
and Hanuman.
Saturdays Hanuman.
Saturdays, Hanuman. And
Hmm.
Surya Dev.
And
is it?
Shani Devta also.
Oh, Shani Devta also, Saturday. And Sundays?
Sun God. Sun God.
Sunday
Sunday, Sun
Satsang.
God. Okay. So all these kinds of worship that are mentioned is because you want something in return. Okay. So therefore, Krishna is saying that some yogis perfectly worship the demigods, offering different sacrifices to them. So different activities are performed to please all these different devatas. Now, does a Vaishnava, a pure devotee, worship the devata?
No.
No?
You can pay your obeisances,
Sure.
but you don't pray to them for something, or you don't ask them for anything.
We don't ask
Material.
them for anything.
You can ask them for giving you devotion to the Supreme Lord.
Yes. So yes, a Vaishnava can worship a devata, but a Vaishnava, when a Vaishnava worships a devata, Surya Dev, or all these things that we mentioned, Lord Shiva or Hanuman or Goddess Durga, how does a Vaishnava worship them is by glorifying them and asking them for spiritual benefits. For example, a Vaishnava may pray to Lord Ganesh and say that, oh my dear Lord Ganesh, you have scripted the Mahabharata, of which the Bhagavad Gita is a part. And by reading this Bhagavad Gita, I'm able to develop, or at least I'm trying to develop some devotion. So this is how a Vaishnava would pray to the devatas. Okay, now some yogis perfectly worship the, demigods by offering different sacrifice to them. So this is what is there in the Karma Kanda section as we discussed. And then Krishna is talking about some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So here Krishna is talking about the Brahman effulgence, those who believe that God is a light and one merges into the light. If one is engaged in that worship, then eventually they are merged into the Brahman effulgence. Now, which of these two is better? Worship of the devatas for material benefits or merging into the Brahman effulgence? Which of the two is better?
Worshiping the devatas.
Why?
No, merging into the Brahman.
No, because when you merge, you can't do anything there, and after a certain period of time, you'll fall down. But when you do prayer to the devatas, they can deliver you to the Lordship. They can give you bhakti.
That's also for sense gratification. No?
Same thing.
Okay, so the point here is, worship of the devatas by different sacrifice to them is we are talking about karma kanda here only. We are not talking about praying to them for pure devotional service. We are talking about karma kanda. So
sense
karma kanda
gratification.
versus merging into the Brahman effulgence, which is better?
Brahma
Brahman
effulgence,
Why?
because there's God, the light of it's the light of Krishna. That place that they go to, they're yogis. They're called yogis, and they have learned to go there through the yoga process, and then they can, if they do come back, they can always go back to Godhead, because they're already they're on the stage of yoga. Through the yoga process, they go to the influence of the light, which is non-different from Krishna. It's only the light of Krishna's body, which is merging out of his body, where they are staying. And to stay there, they have to be yogis. They have to be very elevated. They cannot reach the place if they are not elevated.
Okay, very nice. So let's just take an example, right?
So they're
Now
trying to sacrifice their identity.
You sacrifice your identity where?
In the Brahman effulgence, and you try to come out of the material world.
Okay, so we never sacrifice our identity. Even when we are in the Brahman effulgence, we maintain our identity, we maintain our individuality.
Actually,
Okay, so
I
the
am
individuality of the spirit soul
It's the
is
soul that
always
never
there,
loses
irrespective of
identity,
whether you're
but
in the material world or in the Brahman effulgence or in Vaikuntha or in Goloka. It's always going to be there.
I'm confused with this thing, with both these things.
With
I
what?
didn't
Okay,
understand.
let's try to let's take an example. Okay, now we know this material world is a prison house, is compared to a prison house
Yeah.
where there are repeated birth and death. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we worship the devatas, expecting something in return, what we are doing is we are making arrangements to be more comfortable in this material world. Give me
Okay.
money, give me promotion, give me a good husband. So we are making arrangements to make our life better in this material world. It's equal to make a prisoner asking for comforts in the prison house, in the jail.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when we try to get out of the jail, so when the sacrifice is for merging into the Brahman effulgence, at least we are making an effort to come out of the jail.
Mhm.
So this is why the second option is superior to the first option. Merging in Brahman effulgence is better than worshipping the devatas for material benefits.
Yeah.
Is this clear now?
Yeah. Now clear.
Okay, so this is why this is a better option. It's like a prisoner is there in jail, and let's say the chief minister comes to jail, and that day he's visiting the prisoners, and he tells the prisoners, what can I give you? What do you want? You have any desire? So the prisoner says, fan is not working properly. The quality, the dal is too watery. So, or the axe with which we are cutting the wood is not sharp enough. So it's so, I mean, he can ask the chief minister, please let me go out of the jail. Because he said, I can give you, what do you want? What is your desire? But instead of asking to get out of the jail, he's asking for better facilities inside the jail itself. That is what is Bahu Ishvaravadis. That is what is worshipping the devatas for material benefits. Instead of asking that I want to come out of the jail. So the devatas can give you the blessing. They can bless you to attain devotional service. Like Lord Ganesh, you pray to him that remove all the obstacles coming in the advancement of my spiritual life. Instead of asking him that remove the obstacles that are coming in the way of my promotion. Right? So the devatas, because the devatas are also devotees, they can give you bhakti. Even if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see how the gopis, they would worship Katyayani Devi. She's one of the forms of goddess Durga. They would worship Katyayani Devi to get Krishna as their husband. So that is a spiritual prayer. They want Krishna as their husband. So yes, they are also worshipping the devatas, but to have Krishna. So like that, we can worship the devatas, but we ask for spiritual benefits, not material benefits. Okay. See here, demigod worshipper, what does he sacrifice? He sacrifices his material possessions, because he may say that, okay, I will donate so much, or I will feed the brahmanas, or whatever it is. He sacrifices the material possessions, but what is his goal? His goal is sense enjoyment. But sense enjoyment in accordance with scriptural injunctions. It's not karma, but it's not even a karma. Okay, but his faith is in many gods, therefore they are called as Bahu Ishvaravadis. Now, an impersonalist, what does he do? He rejects material possessions as Maya, and he sacrifices his own self because he's renounced. He goes to the forest, gives up family. So he has given up all his material possessions. So he has sacrificed himself. But what is his goal? That I want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. What is the faith? His faith is form of demigods are temporary. See, a Brahmavadi, they are called as Brahmavadis. A Brahmavadi believes that all these devatas or all the gods or even Krishna, Ram, Parshuram, all of them have come from the Brahman effulgence. That is what is the faith of a Brahmavadi. That's what they believe. That everything has come from the Brahman effulgence. All these personalities like Ram and Krishna, they have come from the Brahman effulgence. But actually it is vice versa. Because from Krishna's body only that Brahman effulgence is coming. We cannot say that the sun is coming from the sunlight. No, the sunlight is coming from the sun. In the dictionary, the word formlessness exists. But the word formlessness exists because the word form exists. If there was no word called form, there would be no word called formlessness. So from form comes formlessness. From Krishna, the person, comes the Brahman effulgence. Okay. Now, what does a devotee do? A devotee uses everything in the service of Krishna. And what is his sacrifice? Greatest sacrifice is preaching. Preaching. Why preaching? See, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, Krishna says that no servant is more dear to me than he who gives this knowledge to the others. So, for someone who's preaching, that person is very, very dear. That person is the dearest servant to Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, said that you have to give gallons of blood to make one devotee. That's the sacrifice it takes to make one devotee. So the greatest sacrifice is preaching. He respects and sometimes even worships demigods. He dovetails his activities in Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is incomplete, but this is what a devotee does. This is the mentality of a devotee. Yes, he respects all the devatas. See, a Vaishnava, a devotee, will never disrespect any devata. We worship everyone. We worship, we respect everyone, and we may even worship the devatas, but we worship devatas for spiritual benefits, not for material benefit. What is his goal? Satisfaction of Krishna through seva. What is his faith? Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. So one should understand the position of Krishna and understand the position of the devatas. One should understand the position of the president and understand the position of the ministers. We respect everyone, but it's important that we worship them by understanding their position, because even if you glorify the finance minister saying that you are the president of the country, it will be embarrassing for him. Even he is not going to like it. So they are called as Vaishnavas. See here, this is a statement by Lord Shiva, and this is quoted by Lord Chaitanya himself in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. What does Lord Shiva say? He says, Aradhanam Sarvesham. What is the highest kind of Aradhana? What's the highest kind of worship? Vishnur Aradhana Param. So he's saying, Lord Shiva is saying this to Goddess Durga. My dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the topmost. So Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. Of all the kinds of Aradhanas, the Aradhana of Vishnu is Param, is the topmost. Tasmat Parataram Devi. Tadyanam. So Tadhyana means of all the and higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of those who are in personal relationship with Lord Vishnu. So Tadhyana means those people who are in relationship with Lord Vishnu. Now, who is very close to the Lord? The pure devotees, the spiritual master. The pure devotees, the pure Vaishnavas, the spiritual masters, the acharyas, they are in close association. They are in close relationship with the Lord Vishnu. So he says that the worship of such people is even higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu. Say, my dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is a rendering of service to Vaishnavas who are related to Lord Vishnu. So even higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to the Vaishnavas. That is why we worship the Guru as good as God. As good as God. The spiritual master, the Guru, a pure devotee will never say that he is God. Anybody who says that he is God is bogus. One will never say that he is God, but we worship him as good as God. And see here also from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see this quotation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting this statement by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. What does Krishna tell to Arjuna? Those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees. But those who are devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. So Krishna is saying that we cannot approach Krishna directly. We cannot approach God directly. I cannot say that I prefer to worship Krishna directly. No, because Krishna says that if you are directly my devotee, actually you are not my devotee. If you are a devotee of my servant, then you are my devotee. So when we serve the spiritual master, when we serve the guru as a menial servant, then it means you are actually a devotee of Krishna. Krishna himself is saying this. So here we have Karma Kandi deals with matter for sense gratification. So he is worshipping all these different devatas for material sense gratification. And impersonalist rejects matter. He deals only with spirit. So he is believing that God is this light. But a devotee deals with matter and uses it for the pleasure of the spirit. So a devotee will not reject matter. He accepts matter. Like previously we saw this example of how Prabhupada said that he does not mind being photographed. Although Mayavad got himself photographed rejecting money, Prabhupada said that I don't mind being photographed receiving money, because a devotee, what does he do? He receives and he will use it in the service of the Lord. So he deals with matter and he uses matter for the service of the Lord.
श्रोत्रादीनेन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्य इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति.
Some the unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the sense.
So remember this section, Krishna has talked about the different kinds of sacrifices. Here he's talking about the sacrifices of the brahmacharis and the grihasthas. We know that there are 4 ashramas: brahmachara, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So what does the brahmachari sacrifice? He sacrifices the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, because a brahmachari, he is in the gurukul, he is receiving education, it's student life, right? Student life. So the brahmachari hears from the teacher, he hears from the guru, he hears from the spiritual master. So he's sacrificing the hearing process and senses, because he has to remain celibate. He is not allowed to unite with members of the opposite gender. So he is sacrificing the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And what does the grihastha sacrifice? He sacrifices the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So see, what are the objects of the senses? Smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. And the 5 senses are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. So a grihastha is sacrificing the objects of the senses in the senses. So he's sacrificing his let's say he's sacrificing, amongst the 4 ashramas, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, the only person who's allowed to have a relationship with members of the opposite gender, or who is allowed to unite, is the grihastha, is the person who's getting married. Only in grihastha ashram, one is allowed to unite with the opposite sex. So this is also a sacrifice. But with this sacrifice, he takes the responsibility. He's allowed to unite. He's allowed to have sexual relationships, but then he takes full responsibility. He takes full responsibility of the children that are coming out of that union. He takes responsibility of delivering those children. He makes sure the children are raised in Krishna consciousness. They don't have to take birth again. He trains them in spirituality. And of course, also their material needs are taken care of by this person in the grihastha ashram. So these are the 2 sacrifices that Krishna is talking about, of the brahmacharis and of the grihasthas. And for a grihastha also, the sacrifice is that, see, a grihastha engages in union with the opposite sex, not for his own sense gratification. Again, we have to understand, he does it so that he can have children. Because when he has children, he is giving souls the opportunity to get a human body. And by training this soul in the human body in Krishna consciousness, he ensures that this person does not take birth again. But when no more children, then no more sex life, because it is not for his own sense gratification. Okay, when one takes precautions and one is engaging in such activities, it is for his own sense gratification. So a devotee is one who is sacrificing being in the Grihastha ashram also, he controls his senses when no more children. 27.
सर्वाणीन्द्रियकर्माणि प्राणकर्माणि चापरे आत्मसंयमयोगाग्नौ जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते.
Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind.
Here Krishna is talking about Ashtanga Yoga. What is Ashtanga Yoga? Is the yoga system which has 8 stages. Ashta means 8. So it's a process which has 8 stages, 8-fold yoga system. So by this yoga system, what happens? One raises the consciousness from the lower levels to the higher levels. You can see there are 7, what do you call them? 7
Chakras.
7 chakras. Yeah, so there are 7 chakras, and one raises his consciousness from the lower chakra to the topmost chakra by these 8 steps. What are the 8 steps? Yama, Niyama, Asana. Yama and Niyama means the rules and regulations, what you should follow, what you should not follow, breath control. Asana is posture. You must sit in a certain posture. Your back should be straight and all those things. And then pranayama, the breath control. See, here we have the details. Yama is the don'ts, what we should not do. Niyama is the do's, what we should do. Asana is that you have to have a particular posture. You have to sit in a particular position. And then pranayama is the breathing process, how you control the breath. You can read it in detail when I share the slides in the group. And then you have pratyahara. So then the senses are withdrawn from external engagements. We saw the example of a tortoise who withdraws his limbs inside the body. So pratyahara, in that stage, the senses are withdrawn. You are kind of disconnected from external, what is going on in the external world. Then dharana, the yogis are able to maintain the focus of their consciousness progress to the stage of dharana, full fixation on the inner subtle world of the mind. So in pratyahara, he is withdrawing his senses, and in dharana, he is fixed up completely on the inner world, completely on the subtle mind. Then dhyana, now the yogi begins to meditate. Now the yogi. So dhyana is something that comes on the 7th, stage number 7. Completely he is meditating and he discovers the soul. And samadhi is, of course, the final goal of meditation. The yogi pushes the soul out through the top of the skull. So what happens is this yogi, he raises his consciousness from the lower chakras, and then he maintains it here between his forehead. And then when death occurs, the soul, the skull bursts and the soul escapes from the top of the head. So what he does is he maintains the soul between his forehead. This kind of process was followed by Dhritarashtra. When Dhritarashtra went to the forest at the end of his life, and he did this Ashtanga yoga process, and then his body burst. The soul escaped from the top of his head, and then Gandhari entered into this fire and she performed sati. So this is the process that Krishna is talking about in 4.27. And very interestingly, each of these chakras actually correspond to our glands. There are different glands in the body. So the more famous ones are, you have the thyroid gland. And here in the brain, you have the pituitary gland. Like that, each of these chakras actually correspond to the different glands of the body. But the point is, this type of yoga is extremely difficult to practice in the modern age. The yogis of yore would go to the forest to practice Ashtanga yoga, and then they would leave their bodies. So Ashtanga yoga is something that cannot be followed in Kali Yuga. Very, very difficult. Very, very, almost next to impossible. 1 in a quadrazillion may be able to achieve this in Kali Yuga. Now let's see the next sacrifice that Krishna mentions in 28.
Dravya yajna stapo yajna योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः.
Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge.
So here Krishna is mentioning 4 types of yoga, 4 types of yagyas, not yoga, but yagyas, 4 types of yagyas. What are they? One is sacrificing possessions. One is sacrificing possessions. That is dravya yagya. So a person is sacrificing his possessions means he is giving charity. He gives charity. He is very charitable. So that is also a sacrifice because he is giving up his possessions. Then next is tapo yagya, sacrificing by performing severe austerities. So one who does a lot of tapasya. What is it that he's sacrificing here? He's sacrificing his comforts. So when one is doing tapasya, say one is doing tapasya of going into cold water and meditating inside the cold water for so many months, or one is surrounding himself with fire and he's doing tapasya within the fire, or one is standing on one leg, like how Hiranyakashipu put it. He stood on one leg with his arms raised and he was in that position for several years. So all that is performing austerities, tapasya, tapo yagya. What is one sacrificing? One is sacrificing his comforts in this. Then Krishna talks about practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism. Again, he's talking about Ashtanga yoga, which we just discussed previously. And then 4th sacrifice he's talking about here is the studying of the Vedas. So when one studies the Vedas, what is one sacrificing? One is sacrificing his intelligence because you are investing your intelligence in the study of the Vedas. So these are the 4 yagyas that Krishna is talking about in 4.28. So here you have a summary of 4 yagyas, 4 sacrifices. See, one should understand. See, all these yagyas that Krishna has mentioned in this section, which we saw, it's all depending on the personal endeavor of the person. All this tapasya and trying to study the Vedas and giving charity, all that is, or the Ashtanga yoga, it's based on one's own endeavor. Yeah, Shivani, you have a question?
Yes, Mataji. Before we did the verse 28, when you were telling about the yogis, how they start their chakras and the soul leaves from the head. So
Yes.
when they do this, does the soul attain the lordship? Does it go to the light or straight to the Lord?
No, this is attaining the light.
So when you said that the Drash did this, so he didn't go, then he went to the light, right?
Yes, not see now. That does not necessarily mean that he is there even today. Probably from there he can get a promotion and he can get promoted later. Such a yogi can later get a promotion and he can go to the. Because see, when one is in Brahman effulgence, one is existing there. He gets bored and then he comes back. And then he progresses furthermore. Now he starts meditating on the Paramatma. Then he sees the Paramatma face to face. But the Paramatma is in front of him and he disappears. And then he wants to see him again. So then one progresses even further. He engages in Bhakti Yoga. And then he goes to Goloka. So yes, Dhritarashtra attained. That is what one understands. But not necessarily that he is still existing there.
I'm still confused. Like when you say he attained, so he went to the light and then from there he went to Godhead.
No, where he went, we don't know. We don't know because there is no Shastric reference. We only know that this is how he left his body. But what I'm saying is it's not necessary that one after attaining there still remains there. At some point, one gets bored and one comes back. And then he meditates on the Paramatma. And then when he meditates on the Paramatma and he attains perfection, he sees the Paramatma face to face. When he sees the Paramatma face to face, and the Paramatma then disappears, then he wants to see that beautiful form again. He's hankering again. Like that's what happened with Narada Muni in his previous life. Narada Muni in his previous life was a maidservant. We discussed this in the previous class. He was a son of a maidservant. So when the Paramatma appeared before him, he wanted to see that beautiful form again. So then again, such a person, he wants to see this form again. He now progresses to Bhakti Yoga. Now he engages with Bhakti Yoga and then he can attain Vaikuntha or Goloka. Now, what exactly happened to Dhritarashtra, we don't know because there is no record. At least I am not aware of such a record in our Shastras.
Oh, okay, okay. But one has to come back down. One cannot go from the light straight to God, right? Straight to Goloka.
One can go back from the light straight to Godhead by the mercy of the spiritual master. By the mercy of the Guru, one can attain even the impossible. So if one has a bona fide spiritual master, one has at some point accepted a Guru, a bona fide Guru, but for some reason then took to this process and has attained the Brahman effulgence, then by the mercy of the Guru, he can get an upgrade. But mostly he comes back because he's bored of the Jyoti.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay, so coming back to all these endeavors, all these different sacrifices that Krishna has mentioned is based on one's own endeavor. But we have to understand that there are two ways by which we can go to the spiritual world. One is mercy quota, one is merit quota. Just as how if you want to get into a very good reputed institution, a very nice university, we can either get into the university on our own merits. We have very good marks. We do very well in the entrance exam. So on our merit, we can get an admission in this prestigious university. Another way of getting into the university is by mercy quota. If you have sifarish, if you have somebody's recommendation, right? Somebody recommends, then you can get into the university even though you lack the merits. Now to get into the spiritual world, unfortunately in Kali Yuga, most of us lack the merits. Merits we do not have. Merits we do not have because in the Kali Yuga, we are all Shudras or less than Shudras. We are so rotten, so fallen that to get into the spiritual world on your own merits is a next to impossible task. A quadrazillion may be able to make it. So we depend on the mercy of the spiritual master. We depend on the mercy of the spiritual master. When we accept a bona fide spiritual master, the spiritual master may take us back, even though we are not qualified. See, two things are required to achieve Krishna's mercy, says His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. The intervention of a devotee and our own sincerity. So if we sincerely try and serve the spiritual master, then the spiritual master can recommend you to Krishna. And because the spiritual master is closely associated with Krishna, Krishna says, okay, bring him in. So by the mercy of the Guru, we can get into the spiritual world even though we may be lacking merits. But how do we get the mercy of the Guru? When we are sincere. We have to try to execute the instruction of the spiritual master. We may or may not succeed in executing the instruction of the Guru. Sometimes it may appear that the Guru has given us an impossible instruction. But our job is to try to fulfill the instruction. When the Guru is pleased, that is the secret of success. See, Srila Prabhupada was given the instruction by his spiritual master in the very first meeting that I want you to go and preach in the West in the English language. Now, Srila Prabhupada was 70 years old. He had no money. He had no contacts. He knew nobody in the Western world. Yes, he was a sannyasi living in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. But he had this desire to fulfill the instruction that his Guru had given him 40 years back, that go and preach in the West. So Srila Prabhupada tried with all sincerity. And didn't he get success? See, materially speaking, he had nothing that would give him success. He may. See, you try to convince even one hardcore Westerner that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, you can consider your life successful. But he has gone to the West and single-handedly he established ISKCON. Single-handedly he has spread the message. Right now, you can see people of all nationalities wearing dhotis, wearing saris, reciting shlokas in Sanskrit. It's no less than a miracle. So he got this success because he tried to please his Guru. So when the Guru is pleased, Krishna is pleased. So you will get all success. So we have to at least try to serve the Guru with all sincerity. A devotee is always begging the Lord for his mercy. This is what is the mentality of the devotee, begging the Lord for his mercy. This mercy will come. Krishna gives us mercy through the spiritual master. Spiritual master gives the mercy when we sincerely execute the instruction of the Guru, or at least try to execute the instruction of the spiritual master. See here, you have this baby monkey holding on to the back of the mother monkey, and here you have this kitten is being held in the mother's mouth. Now, which of these two kids has lesser chances of falling down?
Cat.
The baby.
This baby
The
cat has lesser chances of falling down. Why? Because the mother was not going to let go of the child. Yes. Now, is this baby cat doing anything of its own? Is it trying to endeavor on its own to remain there? No, he is completely dependent on the mercy of the mother. But this baby monkey, he is holding on to the mother on its own strength. So therefore, there is more chance that this baby monkey will fall down. So all these sacrifices that are mentioned here of doing this dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, the focus is on one's own personal endeavor. So there is every chance of falling down. If you achieve even 99% and you don't come to 100%, by 1% you fail, then everything is lost. Everything is gone. You have to redo the whole thing all over again. So let's say in Ashtanga Yoga, one has reached the stage of meditation, which is the second last stage of that 8-stage process, right? But if there your meditation is broken, then again you have to go back doing everything from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But Bhakti Yoga is not like that. Bhakti Yoga is you're depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So therefore there is less chance of, there is no chance, not less, but absolutely no chance of fall down, because there is nothing to lose. If you end today's life at 50% of bhakti, in the next lifetime you will continue at 51, because you are depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So therefore, intelligence is to get into the spiritual world on the basis of mercy quota, because merits we do not have in Kali Yuga. See, at the end of one lecture, Srila Prabhupada told the devotees, if you become 90% Krishna conscious, you will go back home, back to Godhead. Looking out into his audience, he saw that the devotees looked crestfallen. So then he said, if you become 80% Krishna conscious, you will still go back home, back to Godhead. Still, the devotees expressed doubt that they could become even 80% Krishna conscious. So then Srila Prabhupada said, okay, 70%. And then the devotees responded with a big jai. But, one second, I'm getting this in between. But as Srila Prabhupada was returning to his quarters, another devotee expressed concern that he would not be able to even become 70% Krishna consciousness. So then Prabhupada said, okay, you just hold on to my dhoti. I have the key to the back door. I have the key to the back door. So this is what a guru can do. He can get you in through the back door because he has the keys to the kingdom of God. So because the Guru is a pure devotee and he is closely associated to Krishna, Krishna wants to fulfill the desire of his devotee. And the devotee wants to give mercy to those people who are sincerely trying, at least you try sincerely. So then by the mercy of Guru, we can get the mercy of Krishna and we can enter into the spiritual world, even though we lack the merits. We'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Shivani, you
Krishna
have
Mataji Ranpa.
another question?
Oh no, I'm sorry. By mistake.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have one little question. But we could hear the recording. But you talked about intelligence, about when we study Vedas, we sacrifice our intelligence, right? And then the other three, what do we sacrifice for the other three? Because you've given us a slide, a picture, but the thing you said in class, it's not written there.
So the 4 things is sacrificing possessions. So there we sacrifice our possessions, that is giving charity. Then performing severe austerity. So there we are sacrificing our comforts.
Comforts, okay.
Then 3 was the Ashtanga yoga process, in which you're sacrificing there is breath control, your posture. And then 4 is studying the Vedas, we sacrifice our intelligence.
Okay, so it's comforts, breaths, and Vedas. Intelligence. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else do we need to discuss?
Mataji, today is first day of Kartik and today is Gaur Purnima as well, right?
It's not Gaura Purnima, it is Purnima. Tomorrow is the
Purnima.
first day of Kartik. Purnima is the last day of the month. Tomorrow is Pranipat. But many people start offering their ghee lamps from Purnima onwards.
Okay.
So you can start offering your ghee lamps from today, but tomorrow definitely, yes. I hope all of you are have your ghee lamps ready. When you make your own ghee lamps, you get the full benefit of offering those lamps. If somebody else is making the ghee lamps, somebody else has put in the time, somebody else has put in the effort, somebody else has spent the money for you, then the karma will be divided, right? The other person will get the benefit also. But when you make your own ghee lamps, you will get the full-fledged benefit. So make your ghee lamps and light them and encourage as many people as possible to light the ghee lamps. This is the time when Krishna comes out and openly he's declaring, how can we control him? See, the Lord is a supreme controller. Nobody can bring him under control. But Krishna himself is telling us how we can bring him under control. It's like, see, we don't like to discuss our weak points. We would not reveal to somebody else how you can conquer me, right? But Krishna is coming out openly through this Damodar Leela and declaring to the world that, yes, come and conquer me, because Krishna wants to be conquered by his devotees. That's the sweet, loving exchange between the Lord and his devotees. So this is the time we can make great spiritual progress. It appears very simple, offering ghee lamps, reciting Damodar Ashtakam, but the benefit is great. So please do light your ghee lamps, recite your Damodar Ashtakam, do it sincerely every day. Don't miss a single day. If you're a woman and you're in a contaminated state for the five days in a month, then somebody else can offer it for you. In my case, I tell my husband or my daughter, they will offer the ghee lamps, one extra in my name, dedicating it to me. So that way you don't miss a single day of the month. So light your ghee lamps sincerely every single day and reap the great benefit.
Mataji, I have a question. As you know my situation.
Yes.
So I cannot ask anybody because other family members are in the same situation as me. And I, I didn't know all this, so I brought, when I was traveling, the ghee lamp, the diya, everything with me. So now I can't offer it. So when, after the 9th of November, when I can offer, can I do extra so I can make up for the 9 days that I have missed?
Yes, you can do that as well.
Okay.
You can do that as well. But you need to see, whenever you do something in dedicating to somebody else, or you're making up for a past day, then you have to say it. You have to say it in words and inform the Lord that, my dear Lord, I'm offering these 9 extra lamps to make up for the last 9 days which I did not offer. Like that. You need to say. Okay.
Okay.
Don't just assume that it will happen. You have to say it.
Okay. Thank you.
And if there is nobody to offer ghee lamps for you, I can do it for you as well.
Yeah, I would really. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, because right now I'm just, I'm in California and we're doing the final rites in 2 hours from now. So yesterday night I was informed from my Bhavi in India that I cannot do any puja and all that stuff. I thought I can do Kartik at least, but so I have everything, but I can't do it now.
Okay, so I will offer a lamp, one extra in your name every day until your next instruction. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much. Very, very. My full gratitude to you. Koti Dandavat.
Thanks to you for your sincerity, Shivani.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anything else we need to discuss? All right then. So have a nice, blissful Damodar month and a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Until then, Happy Damodar.
Happy
Vancha
Damodar
Happy
to you as well.
Damodar Mataji. Thank you, Hari.
Jai Krishna. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai. And Grace Saram Mataji ki Jai. Gita class ki Jai. Damodar Month ki Jai.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Dhamma Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dhanavad pranams.